Welcome to the video tutorial series, Press Ganey Improvement Portal for Medical Practices. In this module, you will learn how to generate a question analysis, frequency analysis report. Please reference the Improvement Portal job aid when completing this module. All job aids can be found on the FHMG Pulse under the Customer Experience Department page. Let's begin by logging into the Press Ganey Improvement Portal. The login page can be accessed under the Quick Links tab on the Pulse. You can scroll down and the Press Ganey Improvement Portal is towards the bottom. A new window will appear with the Press Ganey Improvement Portal login. You will enter in your email address and your password. Should you forget your password, you can always click the Reset Password link and follow the instructions provided to get your password back. We will log in with our Florida Hospital email address and enter in our password. Once done, we'll click the login. Once logged in, we will be on step 2 of your job aid. Step 2 has us go to the green toolbar at the top, select reports, click on the drop-down arrow, and select Info Edge. A new window will appear on the screen and it will ask us to enter in our practices. Depending on your role, you may be assigned one or multiple practices. In this situation, I'm going to go ahead and click on a couple different practices to run reports on. Once done, I will click Save Changes. And this will take us to step 4 of our job aid. Step 4 is the Questions tab. We'll want to select those questions that we want to run in our analysis report. Currently, it is defaulted that all questions are selected. However, currently we no longer ask non-standard questions. Non-standard questions are those questions that have a little cross after them, with the exception of our promptness in returning calls. This question is still on the survey. So I'm going to deselect all non-standard questions for my report because they are no longer asked and I don't need to worry about that data at this time. The entire billing section is all non-standard questions, so I'm just going to select the actual billing section to deselect all of them. To format your report with saving an extra line, I'm actually going to click on Calculate with Standard Questions Only. This will save me an extra line. And then once your questions are selected, you can go ahead and click on Filters and Groups. The next Filters and Groups tab is actually 2 sections. There's the Filter section and there is the Group section that is a little bit lower. So everything that we're going to be running right now on step 5 in the Filters and Groups is going to occur in the Filter section. We're going to click on Receive Date. So for example, you can enter in via the calendar any date that you would want. You can go ahead and type in an actual date if you wanted to do it that way, or if you would like, you could select one of the pre-selected dates and just dither in that date that you would like. The longer the date range, the larger your n size will be, the more accurate and more stable the data will be. Rather than doing a quarter to date, since it is April 5th here as the date of this recording, the quarter to date would be a very small sample size. So I'm going to just do a year to date just to see how these practices are performing. I'm also going to select Adjusted Sample, which is the next step or the next item to select in step 5. The adjusted sample, there are 2 adjusted samples. Remember, we're in the filters section. of the Filters and Groups tab. There is an adjusted sample that's in the Groups tab. We want to stay with the adjusted sample in the Filters tab. You will select Included. The adjusted sample is for those practices that use both paper survey and electronic survey, and it adjusts to accord for those locations that just use paper survey so that scores and rankings can be compared. And since we use both paper and electronic survey, we use adjusted samples. The group section would only be used if you have multiple sites and you would like to break those sites up. At the beginning, when I was selecting my sites, I selected several. So if I wanted to see a report for all the sites together, I could just run it the way that it is. But if I wanted to see a report for each one of those individual sites, I will want to select this. This is step 5, optional for filtering out or grouping, as this is, grouping the various sites. Once finished, we can then go to the Options and Formats tab. The Options and Formats tab is step 6 of your job aid. Typically, we use a PDF format. There are other formats are available, and you can speak with your consumer experience representative to see what would be best for you, but typically reports are run in PDF format. Automatically selected will be the analysis and the mean score. We want to continue by selecting the N size. It's optional if you want to see the peer group score. It's not really necessary, but we do want to know the peer group rank. Also over to the side, we'll which is step 7, and it's optional for a frequency. The frequency, once highlighted, you can select N on this size. And this will provide us with a separate report for the frequency analysis. If you didn't want it, you could just leave it blank. But we will select it at this time. In step 6, there's also one additional item we want to make sure. If you choose multiple practices, you will get a facility level. And we always want to make sure that our benchmarking is done at a site level benchmark. So we want to change that to site level. Once finished, we can click Run Report. And our report has appeared. On the report, you can see each individual practice and then a total for all the practices combined. There's a place to save and print your report. And then there's the frequency analysis. We'll go over the frequency analysis and an explanation of the actual report in another tutorial. This concludes our tutorial video on practice question analysis, frequency analysis report.